Hello and welcome back to Let's Talk Walking Dead. We're ready to talk about episode 3 Monsters. I'm Dale.
Alec?
And CJ.
And what were you guys' first thoughts on the episode?
My thoughts on the episode were it was a pretty slow episode from beginning to end. Um, just in comparison to what we have been doing with the group, it just seemed like a real lull. I get its necessity, but I don't know. I wish we would have had maybe something more interesting to talk about. This could have been something that was covered way shorter than a full 30-minute episode, in my opinion.
Yeah, what I think is that, to sum it up in one word, is just boring. I know they were setting up several kind of story threads in this episode, kind of like Rick kind of questioning like how his group is, like what he's turning into, kind of with the Morales situation at the beginning of the episode, and then towards the middle with the guy who's sniping at them from behind the tree that Daryl just ends up killing. So you can kind of see Rick kind of questioning the kind of morals and do the means justify the end. But it felt really boring getting there. It didn't feel exciting. It didn't feel really like worthwhile.
Right.
Really. So while I do think it was trying to set up some stuff going further, I feel like they just kind of dragged it through the mud in this one.
Well, and we talked about last episode a lot, like, if they don't use Morales, it'll be a huge waste of our time. And it'll be so random. It's such a random callback in the first place.
Could have been anybody.
Yeah, it could have been anybody. And I really hated to see that, honestly. And I don't know if I said it in the podcast specifically, but I kind of had a feeling that was going to happen.
I was hoping they'd go somewhere with it, but
apparently they didn't give a shit.
Apparently not.
I feel like the writers were like all sitting in a room and they're like, all right, who can we bring back? And they're just like running off names like, nope, killed him. Nope, killed him. How about Morales? Like, he's still alive, right? That guy back in season 1? Yeah, sure, let's throw him in there.
Yeah, I feel like there wasn't a whole lot of thought gone into there, because it was very one-off, and they made it a big deal because like when they show him in the last episode, they really focus in on his face.
They clue in on the "Hi Rick, remember me" or whatever the line was,
and that was like the ending point of the episode, and that was like
right.
The focal point, something that you were supposed to be left with, and to see it in the next episode where he's just immediately killed off.
Like monologues first.
It's a very sad
like there was something
monologue.
happening there, and then it's just over.
Yeah, it's just completely unceremoniously. Rick just says no, don't, and then arrow to the back of the head.
But
what I think is, go ahead, Dale.
Like they were going that back and forth, and you kind of feel like, you know, maybe Rick can diffuse the situation and kind of get Morales to see that Negan isn't, but Morales then goes over that line, and you know he is Negan. So at that point, does he really deserve a chance?
Well, my thing was, we were talking about how Rick's kind of like seeing what's happening with the group, right? But my problem with it is that Morales basically is just somebody random. He is nothing special. He is not like, you know what I mean? Like, if it was any crazy guy, Rick probably would approach the thing the same way, which is why I think that it's I don't know. I thought it was a huge waste of potential. He probably got a buttload of money for that too. So that's pretty cool. Good for him.
Yeah, I was thinking personally that it was such a waste of a character, and I feel like this episode kind of wasted a lot.
A lot of stuff, yeah.
Yep.
Because, I mean, some of the big emotional impacts, kind of like that, him getting killed, Eric dying, or we finding out that Eric turned Walker from like bleeding out.
Implied death.
Implied death. I felt that was handled really, really weirdly. because he's like, no, I can't just let him like go, and the other guy goes like, that's not him, and it's like, but the way he said it was really weird because we know it's him as a walker because he's got the little
Right.
coat tied around his waist, but like the way he said it, he was acting like, no, that's a completely different person.
Yeah.
That's not him.
We thought, when we were watching the episode, he's like, what did he say?
I was
That's
like,
definitely him.
I was like, no, that was him, right? I was like, I really hope Eric doesn't.
Okay,
show
maybe you
up
could
alive
attribute
later.
that to just the acting.
Well, I mean,
It's a very
I mean,
side
yeah,
character.
But okay, they could have easily
Fair
added
enough.
in any more. That's not him anymore.
Yeah, we were talking about that too. Just like the qualifier anymore would have
True.
cleared all doubt.
It would have cleared it up because I don't know. I felt like the acting in this was a little wonky because you had that, which was a little bit confusing.
Morales was bad.
Yeah, he was like,
Straight up bad. I'll say it. I'll be the first to say it.
no, I'm not an actor, but there is a degree of acting we see on The Walking Dead. Like most characters and most of the main cast are pretty well acted.
They're really good actors.
They're really
yeah.
good actors. And the thing is, you had Morales give his little monologue, and it was just,
He was so wonky.
It was
felt bad.
you didn't feel invested, and it didn't really make sense.
Well,
It
the thing
a
was, is
gratuitous
we weren't
cameo.
invested. The last time we saw this character was in season 1 for like a couple episodes, and even at that point,
Well-
we still weren't invested in him.
Right, because he was still just random, nameless character number 3.
Exactly.
But, I just think in general, I thought it was bad. I mean, I'm no actor. I'm not gonna claim to be better, but
Like you gotta
There's
hone it in a little bit for your monologue there, bud.
there's a quality I hold The Walking Dead to, and he just wasn't cutting it.
Oh well, he's
It's a bit-
dead, so
No, he's dead, so we don't have to see him again. Or we might possibly see him pop up again. You know, maybe. And like a flashback or whatnot. Because you know how The Walking Dead loves their flashbacks now.
I think that's gonna be the end of that.
Yeah, I sure hope so. I personally, I would say the one thing I like about this episode is we kind of start seeing Morgan kind of breaking down in this episode.
Let's break it down.
Yeah, you kind of start seeing like he was very much a pacifist last season, and then he kind of had his change like, okay, I have to do what I have to do, and it's gotten to the point where he's broken down, and he says, we got to do what we got to do to survive, and it doesn't matter what we do.
He's going back to season 3 Morgan when
Yeah,
we saw him the second time.
Crazy
He was
Morgan.
Crazy, yeah,
Like Crazy Rick, but not as exciting.
but way worse.
So I feel like I feel like I really want that to have an interesting payoff in the end because they're setting it up really well. I feel like in the Morgan sense of it, I
Yeah.
feel it's very awkwardly contrasted with Jesus, simply because Jesus has no backing for being this pacifist guy, but with Morgan we're actually seeing him devolve into this kind of murderous monster again.
You know
as
what
he
that
used to
means,
be.
though, right? It's Walking Dead, psychology, to be we're still on Morgan's side, even though he's doing some questionable shit,
Mm-hmm.
and then they kill him.
Oh God!
That's how The Walking Dead goes.
Yeah,
should hope.
after this last episode, I feel better that they're gonna take out Morgan.
He's getting closer.
And it was really funny. So in that scene where him and the long-haired guy are walking in, he's like, the guy comments on his armor being smaller. I'm like, yeah, his plot armor is shrinking.
Oh my
His
God!
relevance is disappearing.
You're gonna die. But I definitely think that I really want to see that kind of grow as we see Morgan kind of devolve and have that kind of be an issue within the group. And I feel like that should have been more of the... I feel like that's how they should have handled it. Instead of having Jesus being like, oh no, we don't kill people, and trying to do this pacifist route, they should have really shown Morgan, as they have shown, him just going apeshit and just, executing people. And they could have been like, whoa, Morgan, take it back a step.
Whoa,
And
take it easy, man.
yeah. And then he would have been like, no, if this isn't what we do, what do we do? They could have easily had Morgan's parts the exact same. but simply take out the Jesus factor, and I feel like it would have made a lot more sense.
Just
and would have been more.
Like, have somebody come to the realization that these are still people and we can't just execute them.
Yeah,
Right.
but like when it came from Jesus, it felt disjointed and it felt out of nowhere. As with Morgan, you can see where he's coming from and you get a sense of his character's
Because we know so
motivations.
much about his
Exactly.
history.
Which again, I feel like they kind of do this, is they do a really good job building up certain characters, but then they do a really bad job by not setting up others, which is one of my few complaints with the show, is that they do this sometimes, is where they have really well-developed characters.
It's hard to do.
It is hard to do, but the thing is, for the most part, they do it really well. The only thing is, it's contrasted by these really underdeveloped characters whose motivations kind of come out of nowhere.
I'll tell you what, it's hard to do. It's kind of, you have to either go with a lot of times character development or real plot movement.
Mm-hmm.
And they've done a good job of mixing the two. That's something AMC is really good at. But sometimes things slip.
I mean, when you get into the 8th season, I can kind of understand it. Like, not every episode can be absolutely spectacular, but I feel like they kind of need to like hone it in a little.
Like, how we have 8 seasons of following Rick's story and seeing all the up and downs of Rick. You throw Jesus in there for the past season, we have
And
you have to either take time away from the show to give this guy his story, and you take away from the actual plot because you have to do like a backstory, that, or you just put him in and you just kind of learn as you go.
Right.
I totally understand that, but I feel like if they're going to make him this kind of pacifist figure, they should have slowly been building up to that with his appearances in the last season. They should have slowly been building up that Jesus is a pacifist, he doesn't want to kill, all this stuff. But I feel like they didn't really do that well enough. We didn't see him slowly progress, and then that was the tipping point. It was just kind of like, oh, here's the tipping point right here. We didn't have that slow progression up to this. It felt disjointed. Speaking of characters we kind of want to die, let's talk about Gregory. Let's talk about Gregory real quick. How do you feel about Gregory going back to the hilltop?
I think it's funny.
I think it's predictable. It's in Gregory's like repertoire of what he would do.
I think it was funny how how he was so expecting them to just open the door for him.
I was
Hey,
like,
what the heck?
how stupid are you? Oh my God! A plus for the guy who came over the wall and went, "What the hell?" that was so funny. That CJ and I had to go back and re-listen because we couldn't hear because we were laughing too much.
That was so good.
The guy
that
just flips him off.
That was easily my favorite part of the episode. Was right at that moment where he's like, "Hey, what the hell?"
What the hell?
He just flips him off. Oh, that was honestly my favorite part, and I feel like
We haven't had a good like comedic break like that in a while.
And I feel like that was almost redeeming of the entire episode. Was that one moment because I did laugh out loud.
Also, the
incredibly hard.
whole sequence was pretty funny.
That's,
Yeah, I enjoy it because Gregory's like such a cartoon character. His eyebrows and his eyes, like the way he's peering through the door, is so weird.
I feel
Yeah.
like he's at this point more of a comic relief character. I feel like he's gonna be relegated to because
He'll die
it's
soon enough.
it's kind of obvious that Maggie's kind of taken power over at the hilltop now, and that Gregory's no longer in charge.
It seems almost like they're trying to stress how buffoonish he is, though.
I feel that, but I also kind of I kind of like it just because it did get some laughs out of me.
Yeah.
I feel like it was something to kind of break up the kind of dreariness that we've had in The Walking Dead for.
Think about what he could have easily lied and say that, Gabriel saved him, but Gabriel still, got taken by walkers and he just barely made it out or whatever. Instead of, just taking a
But
car.
it's in his character to lie about every little thing, even if it's unimportant.
At this point he's a compulsive liar. He's just going to lie because he feels like that's his best option.
It's his defense mechanism.
And the thing is, he doesn't really have time to come up with a good lie. It's all just off the cuff, because he's so used to just lying and kind of bullshitting his way through situations. I do really like how Maggie kind of put him in his place. She was like, "Gregory, not now. We
Go.
will discuss
She's
this
like
later."
a mother, yeah.
That maternal instinct's really coming in handy now.
I really wish that when she had walked away and he had asked to come in again, she just would have been like, close the doors, like for the second time, and just shut him out. There's no real reason to keep him.
There's absolutely
And
no... she says
unless
he's-
something will develop where he is needed.
Well, because she was like, there's no reason to kill him right now. It's like, yeah, there's no reason to keep him alive, though, either.
I feel like there was no reason to let him back in. I feel like...
Right, maybe not, like, kill, but, you know.
But
Leave him outside.
Maggie is one of the only ones that really knows that he can't survive out there on his own.
Yeah,
That he
but
is dead.
I guess leaving him out would be sentencing him to death. So Maggie's not really all about that.
But I do think it's very clear that when Jesus gets back, she does not want them alive. With all those stragglers that they picked up at the
It seems
outpost.
like everyone's ready to kill him except for Jesus, and I don't know why. I don't know why this is still a thing. But what's so stupid is that next episode, I guarantee they're all alive and they're kept in the back, just like Jesus wants,
And
even though it's totally the wrong thing to do.
I have a little prediction here. I definitely think that coming up, they are going to lock them away and kind of keep them prisoner. And I feel like there's something going to happen, and those people are going to bust out, and they're going to cause some shit at the hilltop.
Yeah.
That's my prediction.
Good.
Pretty safe prediction.
Yeah.
And you know what makes that even better? Is that we know long-haired guy, whatever his name is, because his name isn't important. We know he's a bad guy. That he is 100% savior. Like there is no flipping him over to Rick's side at all. So he's gonna be the one that kind of starts that. If it's to
Definitely.
happen.
Definitely, I agree.
Like we already have some character background. He's not just a random savior.
Right, he is like the one that killed the Ben.
Which I feel like that's kind of the kind of callback that they need. Is like, because we've only seen him a handful of times. We haven't really...
Yeah, he's just a
developed-
douche every time.
Yeah.
It's just kind of that douchebag we see a couple of times. But then they bring it back and they find him and Morgan sees him. That's the kind of callback that I think is good. That it's recent in memory, you understand who he is, and if not, just very naturally through their conversations where he's like, "Oh, is that armor the kids?" You can call back.
understand,
You can
yeah.
call back and like, "Oh, he's wearing Benjamin's armor and like Benjamin died. That's the guy who killed him." And I feel like that was much more natural, and as opposed to like with Morales,
That was
it
the
was kind of
weirdest
like-
callback.
it was like, "You're Morales from back at the camp," because they had to
And everyone in
specific.
the audience goes, "Oh, cool."
Even Morales is like,
the other-
yeah, I'm just some guy you met for like a couple days in Atlanta.
Yeah,
Yeah, like what?
half of them were like, "Oh yeah, him," and the other half were like, "Wait, what?"
I don't even understand how Morales had this big speech for Rick. Because how does he know? Like, he doesn't really know what Rick's been through.
No, neither of them do. Also, how do you go from Birmingham to like Virginia?
I don't
How
know.
does that change happen? But whatever, it's not gonna matter.
Not with an arrow in your head, it ain't gonna matter.
Nope.
But I will say, I am excited because we've got a new character joining us. That is Gracie, the baby.
And CJ loves babies.
Now, I love babies. You know, especially those babies who are going to get miscarried and turn into zombies inside of your womb.
Yeah, we
One
haven't
day.
talked about that, though.
One
day.
That will happen. That's still the long-lasting prediction. I'm still waiting on it. Maggie's been pregnant for like 2 seasons. Push
And she
it out.
hasn't gotten any bigger.
Push it out, bitch. I want to be right.
That's what I've kind of noticed is with her pregnancy. I don't know exactly how much time has gone down.
Well, it's only been like 2 months, something
So-
like that.
Something came up, and it was like she's in her second trimester.
Okay, well, she should be showing a little bit then, right?
Yeah.
Not everybody shows like
Okay,
that.
but she
though.
is a thin woman.
We don't really see her that often, though. I don't know. I agree that she should be showing, but
At least enough that we could be
They
like,
should
oh,
make
she's
it
pregnant.
like, yeah, it's like that. Yeah, she's definitely pregnant. We're getting
'Cause
closer and closer to that.
At least with Lori, like we obviously saw, like, oh, she's pregnant, and like
well,
we
Lori's
kinda-
progression was faster though because we had that gap between seasons where
That's-
they went through like winter.
that
that's
too,
fair.
and I mean, this entire season's happened. These first 3 episodes have happened over what, like 2 days, maybe.
I think it's only been one.
Even better
it'd be
for my
these
argument
first,
here.
like, 3 episodes. Yeah.
Last 2 episodes have been over about half an hour.
Right. Well, let's talk about quickly here. Let's talk about Rick and Daryl after the Morales thing. How they're fighting their way out of the house. What you guys thought about the fight scene in general?
I personally thought the fight scene was, I thought it was okay. It isn't the best action we saw. I do think it was kind of clever that they used the fire extinguisher.
I think it was more interesting
They
than
Threw a
us
guy down
seeing
the
them
elevator
just-
shaft. That was pretty cool.
Oh, that was
Yeah, that was
also
cool.
cool.
I thought it was more interesting than watching them like spray bullets at just a bunch of people.
I feel
I
like
thought it was an actually like coordinated fight scene. There were a couple of coordinated fight scenes because that one and then the one with Jesus and Morgan. We had a couple of actually coordinated.
Also, like,
See,
props to the
instead of just
choreography
guns.
of that
Yeah.
fight.
this,
Also.
Yeah, the fight was nice. The fight was really nice.
I feel like I do think it was kind of cool how they had these 2 guys kind of just going up against each other, and they're just and Jesus is just like, "Are you done?"
Jesus so clearly wins. Yeah.
He so clearly wins, and Morgan just won't let it go, which again kind of ties back to him going crazy, because Morgan just wants to get the job done at whatever cost, and our big voice is reason. All right, enough touching on that.
Oh, I want to add something to that, as much as a little variation to it. So,
Yeah.
something the show has continuously shown is the struggle between just killing people, letting them go, can they survive on their own? You know, that's something that Morgan's side and Jesus' side is battling with again. We can look back at season 2 when it's Rick and Shane, and there's the kid that had his knee blown out by
Oh,
got
yeah.
speared, whatever.
Yeah.
And you know, Shane is on the side of just kill him. You know, he's either gonna bring people back or, you know, he's not gonna be good. And then you've got Rick that's like, he's just a kid. You know, how bad could it be? He's just a kid. He's still a person.
Right.
Is Rick actually turned into Shane?
No.
Not quite, because
I-
he didn't sleep with his wife.
No, I think totally not. I think the difference is that I think Rick still has a conscience for the children, but the difference being is that these are people that we know are evil compared to just a kid. I think that there's still a moral compass there. I don't think he feels good about it, but I don't think he feels as bad about it. I don't think he's quite to that level
But
of
that
ruthlessness.
teenager was associated with people that did try to kill them.
Right, but like, I don't think he's there yet. I don't think he's at the same level of ruthlessness.
I feel like he's been trying to emotionally distance himself, especially when it comes to like fighting the saviors. He's trying to be like, we got to get the job done, stuff like that. And it's kind of setting up to be like he's kind of reflecting back on what he's done and kind of the actions they've been taking to like essentially free themselves from the saviors. He's kind of seeing how they are being ruthless in their tactics, and they're being almost as ruthless as the saviors themselves. So you can kind of see that with, especially in this episode when Daryl kills those two guys, Morales and unknown tree guy.
Well, Morales was a little bit different because he was holding a gun at him, but Tree Guy is definitely a good example of that. Let's talk about the end of the episode quickly before we're out of time here. So it ends on Carol and Ezekiel and the crew cleaning up kind of like a small outpost. And then Aerostorm, we see some blood.
Mm-hmm.
Probably some deaths, people protecting the king.
As you do.
What do you guys think?
I feel like it was very much... You could very much tell it was coming. Because...
I thought it was pretty obvious.
Yeah,
too.
I also thought it was very obvious because when they finally finish up, like, getting through, like, that group of people who's like, everyone's accounted for, everyone's safe, and you see how happy
you could see how it was just gonna turn.
You saw how relieved he was, and like how happy he was, and I knew immediately in my head, I'm like, that's not gonna last. Someone's gonna die, like right now. And then
A lot of people died.
a lot of people. Well, we don't know.
At least
Well-
like 3.
At least all
At
the
least
people
three.
covering Ezekiel died.
There's a couple more that we saw.
They got shot
individually,
first,
but-
yeah.
But at least those
yeah.
covering him died.
So maybe more. Probably more.
That's probably going to take... So how do you think that's going to affect Ezekiel coming up in this next episode, if we see more on that?
If he's alive.
I don't think we see more on that.
I-
I think they leave it like Glenn.
I
I
hope they don't kill him off like this.
I don't
So
think they will.
if you
Go.
put together the pieces between what Tree Guy told Rick and Daryl are heading to them to get that gun. Like,
Right.
that's where it's going. So by the end of the episode, we'll see probably what happens. We don't know how the timing works out on that. If Ezekiel getting
They might
shot
be-
at to maybe when he's getting shot at, Rick and
The
Daryl
Rick
are
and-
almost there
yeah.
already. We don't know.
That's my guess. That's what I think happens. That's what I think would make the most thematic sense.
Closing thoughts?
Alrighty, so closing thoughts. I feel like it was kind of a lull of an episode. Kind of rolled through, set up a few story points, but not a whole lot of action. Well, a little bit of action, but not a whole lot of story progression. Just kind of like little setups here and there. I am really, the ending did get me excited. I really want to see how that kind of turns out with Ezekiel and the members of the kingdom and how they deal with that, being assaulted like that. I want to see how that turns out. So that makes me excited for the next episode.
I think it's gonna be. I think it's just gonna be the siege on that outpost and getting the gun,
Yeah, probably.
getting the guns. That's where I'm at with that. What about you?
I think it's pretty much just going to be just that. Probably just more of a continuation of what we've seen, dealing with the saviors at the hilltop, that kind of thing.
And in the back of our heads, we're all still hoping for that Negan, that sweet, sweet Negan backstory.
Really hoping. Fingers
course-
crossed.
They might not be doing it because they're not done with him yet. Because with the governor, they waited until he was pretty much dead before they did the backstory episode. So, who knows how many more years of Negan reign we have.
Well, I mean, I'm pretty sure in the comics, Negan's like the biggest threat they faced in the comics so far.
I believe so.
So I feel like we got a full good season out of him in season 7, and we got kind of the saviors and stuff in season 6. Yeah, we got kind of a taste of them in season 6 all the way through season 7, and I feel like either it's going to be wrapped up this episode or it's going to be like halfway through this season. I feel like this season is they're going to either wrap it up or they're going to wrap it up like midway through next season. That's just my predictions.
Right.
Like going forward with that story thread.
Well, I think that's all the time we have this week. So, if you guys have any predictions, go ahead and put them down in the comment section below. If you liked the episode, go ahead and leave a like. If you want to see the rest of this season on to the end of the season, maybe even next, go ahead and hit that subscribe button for the weekly updates. And yeah, we'll look forward to seeing you next week.